Welcome to another episode of Tangled Rights. I am Justin W. Wilson, one of your co-hosts. My smiling partner over there is going to introduce himself after he stares creepily at the camera without blinking.
Shane D. Cox, Esquire.
Hail, yeah.
Attorney at law in the state of Nevada. Nothing we say will be legal advice.
Correct.
Or is intended to be legal advice.
In this state or any other. I am attorney at law in the state of Nevada and the state of Kansas. So hit us up for your Kansas and Nevada needs. Also wanted to give a quick shout out to our number one fan, Julie Fox, who provided me with a bunch of delicious cheesecake bites and something else. I don't know what the other thing was. It was like the way I think of Mississippi Mud, where it's got like cookie granola crumbs or whatever on the bottom, and then chocolate and some other stuff. They're delightful. It was at Carrie's campaign event.
Okay.
Anyway, yeah, very nice. You're going to be getting some swag soon. We're figuring out what we want to do with that, but be prepared for your treat as being the number one fan.
We take care of our number one fans.
Hell yeah. And there's only one of them, so it's easy. But it's exciting. You're one of like 6 listeners, so I'm excited that you...
A little more than 6.
Is it a little more than 6?
You average 30 downloads every episode, just on audio.
Well, we have 30 listeners?
That's
Aw.
only audio.
That's
YouTube,
audio.
hundreds and thousands.
Oh, okay, cool. Well, thanks, guys, for all of you. All right, what are we going to talk about today, Shane?
We're going to talk about some current event criminal stuff.
Ooh.
That seems to be our main topics of conversation. I think that's what the people want, and we like to give the people what they want. And when you're talking about current events, sometimes they get stale really quick. So this one that was in the news recently.
Because the mob's attention span is fickle and short.
That and the news cycle just goes through waves.
Well, and then also on the criminal side of it, there's always something else.
There's always something new, yes.
Right? You murdered someone on Thursday. Well, guess what? By Sunday, somebody else murdered somebody else.
There's another, or there's another motion in the case, or something changes, something gets overturned, and something old you might have talked about becomes moot.
What's moot, Shane?
Moot.
No, I get
It's
it.
a moot point.
Like an int moot?
Now, moot means that it's not current active. Moot means it's old news, basically. It doesn't matter anymore.
Is that a phrase in the law?
It is, definitely in law, but in normal stuff
it in
too.
like a
but
motion, right?
yeah.
To say that it's a moot issue, meaning it's done.
Yeah, doesn't matter anymore. That's a standing issue, but we're not gonna tackle standing today, are we? No.
I mean, we could briefly touch on it if you want to.
That's civil stuff. Nobody cares about civil stuff.
I do.
Okay. So moot means it's just not a current fight that you have. So the court shouldn't even consider it. That would be what one party might argue is, hey, injuries already happened. Now it's moot. Nothing can be done.
There are some exceptions to that, however, if it's something that's capable of being repeated. For example, I know that there's some Supreme Court cases where the issue that they were going to be solving would have been done by the time it got to the Supreme Court, but because it's something that's going to happen over and over and over again, they'll go ahead and handle it.
Yeah, standing's a weird one.
Yeah, it's weird.
Standing
there's
is
a lot of ins and outs.
There's a lot of things to know. Standing just means you have to be the right person making the lawsuit.
So I can't sue on your behalf.
Right. If I witness a crime, I can't say, oh, that person was hurt. So it helps the public if he, pays me something
Unless
it causes you intentional infliction of emotional distress or negligent
infliction of emotional distress. There's so many rules we could go forever. All right, back
and
to
that's
the
why you
stuff.
need lawyers.
Yep, this is why you need lawyers. We could just talk for hours. There's so
It's
much crap.
complicated. So this one is a little older because now it's been a couple weeks, but Tyreek Hill.
So old.
Tyreek Hill got arrested 15 days ago, and by the time this episode comes out, it'll be 22 days. So
Can't believe it.
all right, not arrested, detained. You corrected me on that earlier.
Yeah, he was detained.
Tyreek Hill got detained.
Forcefully detained.
He admitted that he was speeding. He talked to cops and admitted his wrong and said that he was speeding near his stadium in Miami because he plays for the Miami Dolphins, where he plays as one of the top paid players on his team.
Nice. So it's fair to say he's good at sports ball.
He's good at sports ball. He's good at catching and running the ball.
Isn't he presently like one of the best receivers in the league?
Yes, he's definitely...
And he's in the peak of his career, right?
He's at the peak of his career. He's probably the fastest guy, but he lost his quarterback, and now they have a backup, and so that's going to affect his season. But
he should still be able to catch the ball.
he is good at catching sports balls, and good at running faster than other people when he has that sports ball in his hand.
The only professional sports game I've ever seen was a Dolphins game.
There you go. He was probably playing, right?
Last October, yeah. It was against the Texans.
Okay.
It was for JSL's bachelor party in Miami. Shout out.
Shout out. Whoever JSL is, cool.
Justin St. Louis, he's getting married on Saturday.
Oh, well, let's go to Syracuse for that.
I'm gonna.
Oh, wow.
Oh, get to go experience lovely Syracuse.
So, breaking down this criminal and potential civil aspect of this case is super interesting. Let's just say that this specific football player has had some run-ins with law before.
What kind?
Criminal.
Right, but same kind of thing, like speeding or stupid stuff.
Well, he doesn't seem like the brightest person, not the sharpest crayon in the box. He's had some domestic battery issues before. Got kicked out of some colleges for
The convicted or accused?
I don't think he ever got reduced to a conviction or took a deal or whatever. But
Because he can play football real good.
he can play football real good. So
So let's just,
sometimes that might be overlooked.
Yeah.
And it's not us saying it should be. That's just the reality of the situation.
Unfortunate, stupid reality.
Yes. So he had beaten a pregnant girlfriend, or accused of hitting a pregnant girlfriend. He has multiple children with multiple women, and one of his kids' arms was broken in mysterious circumstances.
Jesus.
And he was accused of maybe beating his son. So he has a bad history. He's not seen as a good person in the NFL eye, we'll say, but he has talent like few others in his position. So he is a good player and can play football really well. And so week 1, there's news that comes out right before his game. Oh, Tyreek Hill's been arrested. He's also known as Cheetah because he's fast. So that is his common nickname, is Cheetah. And
Cheetah being the fastest land mammal, or actually fastest land animal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
Upwards of 60 miles an hour. However, one time Brian Habana raced one and he beat it. So, what's up?
Yeah. So he got pulled over for speeding.
His 40 is a 4.29.
Yeah.
Dang.
And he's ran some track things in the off seasons and keeps up with some of the track.
He's only 5'10".
He is a shorter gentleman. Yes.
77 receiving touchdowns, 10,293 receiving yards.
Elusive.
Shoo.
He's fast. Yeah.
He can go.
I saw on Instagram that said, like, if you had 10 chances to try and tackle Tyreek Hill for $10 million, or would you take $500,000? I said,
Are we talking open field tackling, or does he have to go
open
heads
field.
up?
Well, I guess you could try heads up. I'd still take the guaranteed money no matter what. Yeah, you can believe in yourself. I'm not.
Can I switch after like 2?
Sure, you can make whatever rules you want, Justin.
All right, if I can
pretend
switch,
land.
if I can switch after 2, because I'm going to see how it really is going to play out. I know he's going to crush me, right? But one
Can I get a
tackle,
practice rep?
one heads up tackle.
Get a shoelace,
Yeah,
Could get lucky.
I could do it. I've tackled folks. I did it for 15 years.
All right. Well,
But he's real fast.
so he's fast. He's driving fast. He's admitting to speeding. The police officers are jerks in this situation. The video
Who
comes
started
out.
being a jerk? Was it him or them?
So it's kind of the order of operation that happens, where first the public is anti-Tyreek Hill because of who he is. He's not seen as one of the good guys. And so police officers, or some rumor starts, he was going 100 miles per hour on this highway. It turns out he wasn't probably going that fast. He was speeding, going faster than he should have. Whether it was enough to be a reckless driving charge or it's just speeding, we don't know.
Yeah, the thing I heard about it said that it was a like 130 miles an hour.
No, not even close. It's not even being reported that it was that close, but rumors kind of fly that he's being a jerk and that's why he gets detained. But then the video comes out, the BWC, the body-worn camera footage.
That that McLaren 720S coupe that he was driving, probably not even that fast, really.
They should have known it was a player on the team.
No, I'm just saying I don't think you could go that fast in it, right? Will a McLaren actually go 130 miles? No, I'm kidding. I'm being sarcastic. Of course it will.
Of course
It's a fast car.
A fast car. So he's driving fast. He pulls over for the police. Doesn't have a problem with that. Does pull over. There's a lot of police there in a quick amount of time because they're doing traffic for, this 60,000 seat, 80,000 seat, somewhere in that range stadium.
So it's kind of like Scotty
Sold out.
Scheffler, and that he's close to the stadium, and then he gets pulled out of the car.
Yes. So sold out home game. Dolphins are excited for their season. They think they have a good chance with their team. They were a playoff team last year. They have a lot of hope before the injury happens to their star quarterback. So a lot of cops there for, control, traffic control.
Officer that pulled him out of the car, his name's Danny Torres.
Okay.
He's been a police officer for 27 years, apparently. It says 27-year veteran, so I'm assuming that means from the police. Has racked up 6 suspensions and multiple reprimands before his encounter with Hill.
Oh.
Uh-oh.
He's got his history too.
He has been suspended for as many as 50 days between 2014 and 2019.
That's
2 of
a
the
lot.
suspensions were for 5 days each, and he had some paid ones in 2016. And a 20-day suspension in October of 2018 and a 10-day in June of 19.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, obviously the police have their ways of trying to fire certain individuals that sometimes can get in their way. Sometimes they keep them on because they, the brotherhood, again, the cops saying, I don't think you did anything wrong, but, they're making you go through this process. And
Yeah, it's kind of a weird one, right? Because when you talk about it, you want the police to police their own, but at the same time, I feel like sometimes they're almost forced to band together because of how they get attacked, and justifiably so in a lot of these situations where there's an OIS, officer-involved shooting or something like that.
yeah.
And it's like, okay, rather than even pausing before you lunge at them to let them root out the bad apples, and I'm not saying they always would, but it seems like you're kind of forcing it to where there's only one direction they can go, and they kind of have to all band together. In this situation, it sounds like the guy might not have been
So
a great cop.
both parties in this encounter, the police and Tyreek Hill, I don't think do everything 100% right. Tyreek Hill doesn't want to roll down his window all the way, rolls it back up. He just wants to get his ticket and go. He's like, I know I did it, just give me my ticket. So he admits to speeding, which
Fair.
That's fine. But he kind of, I don't think he was aggressive necessarily, but he wasn't 100% agreeable, not 100% compliant, because the cops were knocking on his window, and he has an expensive car, and he took offense to that, and he kind of said something to that effect to the police, about knocking on his window, and he doesn't want him to do that. Well, if you have your window up and they want to talk to you and tell you to put it down, they're going to knock on your window. That's just what it's going to be.
Yeah, especially after they pulled you over.
So,
And also, I'm watching the video right now, at least part of it. The tent's pretty high.
yes, I don't know the limit of the tent in Florida, if it's more than what it should be.
That's not even what I'm getting at. I'm just saying, like, in the video, at least as I'm seeing it from the officer who's behind the one that was knocking on the window, you can't really see in the vehicle. And then you got some dude that just reached in and opened the door. He's got him by the back of the head, and he's on the ground.
They take him out real quick.
Yeah. And so this is the part. He doesn't appear to be resisting.
No.
And the knee into the back of the head and the knee in the middle of the back.
Yes, way too much
Yeah.
for a speeding ticket.
Especially like for a guy he's on his way to the game. I'm pretty sure that they at this point know who he is, right? Because he gave
He
me
should.
What's he gonna do?
They argued that he didn't give the ID, but he had presented it, and that was when there's 7 different cops there. There's 7 different stories of what you think you hear. Oh, he didn't present his ID, so that's why, But he clearly shows his ID. He should know who he is. If you're in the Miami area, and Tyreek Hill, the number 1 receiver, maybe in all of the NFL, but certainly of the Miami Dolphins, you think you'd know who he is.
Yeah. So it sounds to me like there are probably some wrongs on both sides.
Yeah. Well, in the media, we always have to have one person 100% right and the other person 100% wrong, Justin.
Obviously.
So you have to pick sides. Right now.
Sure. Well, I pick my side.
Yeah.
So
That's the trouble with these things. And I think you have to, things are so polarized now where you have to choose a decision. And we are tackling this from looking at it on a legal end. What did Tyreek Hill do wrong? And sometimes... He sped. He went too fast for conditions. It could be a separate...
It was a sunny day.
we obviously talk about police encounters a lot. And so did Tyreek Hill do anything necessarily wrong to cause him to come out of the vehicle in the way that he did?
I'm going to say, at least from what I saw just now without the audio, when I know I've seen something about this before, there's one point in the video in the 30 seconds before he gets pulled out where if he would have just rolled the window down, I'm confident he would have stayed in the vehicle.
Probably.
So did he do something wrong? No. Did he do it right? Also no.
Did he do enough for the police to take him out of the vehicle? Probably.
Was it running?
I believe so.
Yeah, then maybe.
It's a warm day. You know, this is Miami, Florida we're talking about just a couple weeks ago. So
sure, yeah,
he would want the AC to be running, right?
Yeah. Well,
which is reasonable.
But just roll the window down. They got to talk to you.
So,
and you don't even have to roll it all the way down. You just got to roll it down to where they can see you, right? If you do like 4 inches, you're probably going to be good.
Yeah. Well, the cop was very aggressive and very quick in saying, roll down the window or else I'm going to bring you out. You know what? I'm taking you out of the vehicle. He wanted to have the power in this situation. And sometimes the police feel like they just need to have the power. And if anything questions their power, they just get offended and take the power. And they can do that, right? They have the guns. They have the law on their side. They have qualified immunity.
Even if they're wrong, and that's the stupid part of this, you're still going to suffer, right?
Yeah.
Even if he got released and he got to go play his game, he still ended up on the pavement with a knee on the back of his head.
And guess what? He had a touchdown that game, had a good game. So what are his damages? He was okay to play.
Like Mr. Scheffler, who was rattled, Tyreek has nerves of steel.
Yeah.
He cannot be bothered by Miami-Dade police or whoever.
Miami-Dade police. Yeah, I don't know if sheriff's department or city police. I don't know.
But at the same time, if he's like, look, dude, I sped. Give me my ticket. Let me leave. Okay, give him the ticket. Let him leave.
Yeah. We've seen bad cops now in a few different encounters, so it's tiring to see. And we try to give people advice on what to do, not talking to cops and keeping it simple and handing your ID.
Yep.
Saying I'm not discussing my day.
And yes,
then
sir,
you have no reason to, pull you out of the car. No reason to think you're dangerous. He might find a reason to do that.
Well, and that's the other thing, right? Because think about it from the perspective of what most people do when confronted with a police officer.
You start talking.
Well, not just start talking. Most people get scared.
Yeah, they get nervous.
Right? If he's not scared, he's agitated. In these police officers' experience, and again, I'm not defending them. I'm just trying to.
He didn't seem too agitated. I won't say that he was agitated.
He didn't seem agitated?
No, he was just a little annoyed. He was like, just give me my ticket.
What about acting weird, rolling the window back up, stuff like that?
Rolling the window. Yeah, I don't know why he did.
Okay, so you get where I'm going with this, right?
And this is the analysis where people are more about, hey, can I roll my window back up? Like, is that legally allowed? Sure, but let's do what's wise. Let's not do what we think is legally.
How is that going to help you?
Yeah, how is that going to help you in this encounter? If you can look like you're aggressive, if a police officer could say, hey, he rolled his window up, I could barely see inside, and I don't know what he's doing inside there. There could be a weapon.
And what if it's not even aggression? What if it's just aberrant behavior and he's like, he was behaving strangely. Now I've got to check him for DUI or whatever. See?
Yeah.
So it's a slippery slope, which is weird because it's your right, but there are consequences for the exercise of rights sometimes.
Yes.
And that's not fortunate. But the most direct consequence of this is getting thrown on the ground.
And there are so many shades of gray in the law that, there's not going to be an exact Supreme Court decision saying, X, Y, Z, because everyone's completely different. And if you want to take your case up to the Supreme Court to prove that what you did was right, Tyreek Hill, by all means, you have enough money to do that.
Well, also, the ACLU might take it.
Yeah, but that's so much effort for such a little infraction.
Yeah, because the damages are pretty low. I don't think he got arrested. I don't think he ended up with a record. I'm sure that those police officers are getting some sort of a sanction or something.
Yeah, that's maybe he's being, put on paid leave again. One of
maybe
them
they'll
was,
just maybe they would just say sorry to each other. Tyreek can say, "Yeah, dude,
just a hug,
hug it out." Was something vibrating? Oh, it's my phone.
So,
Whoops.
there's our take on the Tyreek Hill situation. Just everybody, just be a little kinder. Just kumbaya, everyone.
Hippie bullshit. I'm not touching you. Get away from me.
Kumbaya.
No, but you're right. I mean,
Hands on the wheel. Keep your window down. Your AC's on. Hello, officer. Yep, here's my ID.
Yep. It's going to go a lot faster the more calm and compliant you are.
Don't talk to cops doesn't mean saying no words.
Or being a jerk.
Or being a jerk. You can say, hello, here's my insurance. Oh, where's your registration? Here's my registration.
Things that you are legally required to present during a traffic stop.
And Florida has when you're stopped, you do have to show your ID, or when you're detained too. So here's my license.
Sure.
Okay, give us 15 minutes to write up your ticket.
Why does it always take so damn long? The last time I got a ticket, I was sitting there for like 20 minutes. I was irked. He walks up to me. He goes, "You were going 42 and a 30." I'm like, "Okay." License, registration. Gave it to him. Off he goes to his motorcycle. In the meantime, 4 other motorcycle cops each had someone pulled over when I got pulled over, and they had already got other people and brought them back before I get released. This is when we still worked at Paul's office, going down that hill on Russell.
Okay, I know what you're
And
saying.
yeah, they were just running a speed trap, and I was like, man, I'm so glad that these guys caught all the murderers and rapists and drug dealers, because they have time to worry about people rolling down a hill and not having their foot on the brake.
Hey, idiots do that and hit people all the time.
I know.
So
And I'm an idiot.
yeah, you are.
Yeah.
All right, we have a murder case, a murder trial we watched. We've been watching more. I've been watching more kind of the popular trials and stuff going on. There's a large community of people who watch these things for them to get on Court TV, Law and Crime Network, these big websites, these big YouTube channels that stream this stuff.
South Park has an episode about this.
Sure. And there's a lot of people obsessed with this stuff. I wasn't, I don't watch these ones, but now that we've been talking about this stuff.
Ever since Robert Tellis made a home inside your head.
Yes, he's got an encampment.
Now you're going to just murder trials.
Hey, they're the things people want to hear. So we're talking about them.
We also got to get ready. We got a murder trial in February.
Yes. So watching these things helps us in a way, but I mean, most of it's just a lot of common sense stuff.
Like, don't murder people?
Well, sheesh. When we're going to trial, it's a little too late for that. There was a murder.
No, there was a homicide.
Oh, gosh.
Words matter, bro.
Yeah, true.
It's justifiable because it's self-defense. It's not murder.
Well, or there's an insanity, like the case
Or
we're going to talk about.
You
Or a
didn't
potential.
do it.
Yeah, no, this girl did it.
Like Mr. Tellis.
Yeah, sure. It was planted. So out of the area of Jackson, Mississippi, just outside is...
Why does everything happen in Jackson? That's the only town in Mississippi I've ever been to. And it seems like the only town in Mississippi anybody ever talks about is freaking Jackson.
I don't know.
Whatever. I went there for a deposition. It was fine. There was a nice diner down by the railroad tracks. It was quite good. That's where I had dinner.
Cool. Well, for all of our listeners out in Jackson, Mississippi, go to some diner by railroad tracks, okay?
It's kind of in the center of town. I really forget the name of it, but I could look it up. It was nice. It was like a bar, but it was like renovated, so it was nice.
Cool. Good talk. So this is the Twisted Teen Murder is what this has been named by a girl of the name Carly Gregg. You heard about this one, Austin? Well, we'll catch everybody up to speed. And when I get the facts wrong, I'm sorry, because
How dare you?
I didn't watch every second of this trial. My understanding of this Twisted Teen Murder is
Is that what they're calling it? Twisted Teen Murder?
Twisted Teen Murder.
Okay.
She's a 14-year-old girl.
Did she drink Twisted Teas?
I don't think so. But she did have some vape pens that were part of the trial. She had some marijuana weed pens.
14-year-olds should not be smoking weed. It's bad for your brains.
Probably not. But she had it. And I'm sure many 14-year-olds have that in their possession. She also had some depression issues, so she was medicated.
She had the big sad.
She was diagnosed with the big sad. She had depression.
Do you know what kind of meds she was on?
That was part of the trial, and I can't remember if it was Zoloft or something else. But her prescription had changed. a little bit right before, but the psychiatrist that was called as an expert said, hey, this was such a minor dosage, it wouldn't have caused, this. But
Maybe.
she ends up being in her home after school and shoots her mom 3 times, and her mom dies.
With what kind of firearm?
A .357 Magnum. So,
For those of you that don't know, .357 is a large caliber handgun. It is monstrous.
yeah,
You could put...
usually in a revolver, I guess.
Yeah, I've never seen one not in a revolver.
I don't think so, but
I wouldn't want one not in a revolver.
it's 6. You got 6.
6. Well, sometimes you have 5. Like my dad took that 44 mag, but this one we went to Alaska in case we ran into bears, and it's 5 because the bullets are so big that it can't hold 6 in the cylinder.
So this is a big boy, .357 Magnum. Let's remind people at home about gun safety and keeping guns locked away from teenagers.
Sure. Yeah,
please.
It's critical. First off, I think the big deal here is the kid had some issues, regardless of what they are.
Yep.
But you have to teach children and people in general that you don't point a firearm at something unless you want to destroy it first. And then second, especially if you have a kid who you know is on depression medicine, put it away. Take it somewhere else. If you don't have a gun safe, put it at another place. Put it in your garage. Hide it from the kid. Do something. Someplace that only you'll know. And I get it. It's your defense weapon. But at the same time, I personally know a few people whose kids were able to get into their guns. A buddy of mine from law school, his son was having a bad time, and he got into his guns, and he shot himself with his dad's gun. And now my friend lives with that for the rest of his life because his kid who had no business knowing the code, if they're going to go shooting, you take the guns out for them. Just don't do it, guys. It's not worth it.
That's
Off my soapbox.
a big time reminder that we're very pro advocates of owning guns. We both like that.
I probably have more guns than any 3 people that I know.
And
But I also have 2 very large gun safes that are bolted to the floor.
Yes.
That nobody on the planet knows the code for, except for me.
yes, and it would take a long time to get those open with any kind of jaws of life or saw or whatever. They're built to.
Unless you bribed me with Reese's.
So, safe gun ownership might have prevented this. I just want to say that, which it sucks. She shoots and kills her mom.
Shot her 3 times, right?
Shot her 3 times. She texted a friend right after, had a friend come over and asked her friend if he wanted to see a dead body.
Like in Boys in the Hood? You guys want to see a dead body?
I guess something.
No,
like
that's from the beginning of the movie.
I know. It's just
Yeah.
so.
Ricky, he zigged when he should have zagged,
Friend comes over. I looked this up. She texts from her mom's phone to her stepdad saying, when are you going to be home? Or are you going to be home soon, sweetie? Something like that. Yes.
Like, that's the lying in wait.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
savage.
Stepdad comes home and stepdad wrestles the gun out of her hand, but he does get hit kind of in the trap muscle right here.
So it takes off part of his shoulder because it's a cannon.
And he testified he'd never felt it because he knew his wife died then. And I think just he never felt the pain in the shoulder.
I believe they call that fuerte.
So the girl who was the shooter and her friend who was outside too, she had told her friend wait outside.
Did she tell the friend why? Or just, hey, go outside?
No, she did. She did tell the friend. She said that she put 3 in her mom, and now I have 3 for my stepdad.
Ooh.
I know.
What makes it
This is just-
accessory
this
after
is
the
just-
fact, possibly? Did they charge the other kid?
I don't think so. No, they wanted him to come testify too. But and that kid could reasonably say that they feared for their life, and this is not their friend that they really knew, and so just wanted to comply to not get anything shot at them too. So
Sure.
you could make a good argument there, and I think they wanted the friend to comply with testifying as well, and this is a case that went to trial. So
Yeah.
the defense was always that she had insanity issues, that she did this because she was insane. There was videos inside the home, just inside the back door, where you can hear the 3 shots and you can hear the mom scream. And then right after, Carly comes out into the camera frame and has something hidden behind her back and kind of sets it down and just is stone cold and just goes to text. So there is no emotion whatsoever at that point. And watching these trials is always interesting because you hear about, some of the evidence,
Sure.
but then it doesn't come out until the trial. The prosecution kind of protects it until the time of trial, then it's public.
Right.
So you see these videos and it's just kind of shocking and chilling to see this reaction of her.
That to me, in and of itself, says that there's got to be something wrong with this kid because
Yeah.
I don't know too many 14-year-olds that are from where I'm from, where they deal with, let's say, livestock. They work on the ranch. They see animals, they get hurt. They have to doctor animals. They hunt. That could shoot somebody and just brush it off like it was cool. I'm guessing this gal did not do those sorts of things to have that background.
No,
and still
there's
just
no evidence
shooting-
of a history. There,
But I'm saying shooting your mom in the face and then just,
Yeah.
gonna get some tea.
So
right?
the history of this and what made it even more popular was she was like the student of the year at her school. She was incredibly bright, and her mom taught at the school. Ugh. So it's this gifted child, presumably, that has some mental issues going on, that has a break, no matter what you call it, it's a break.
Sure.
Is it psychotic-induced break? Is it insanity-induced break? Or is it just this is who she is?
Well, and then you get into the secondary element of it, which is what is the competency of a minor to begin with?
Yeah, 14 years old. 14 years old. She's 15 now facing the trial.
So in Nevada, you could get certified at that age. It's possible.
It's a premeditated murder. Like, this is a murder one charge that she's
Yeah,
facing.
and then an attempt murder one. So it's possible a 14-year-old gets certified.
So then there's body-worn camera footage. She runs away. She eventually gets picked up on the side of the street. And there is some...
When she got picked up, did she have like her wagon with her toys in it behind her?
No. Man. But there is some kind of mental element where she's getting it now, and she's kind of having emotions about what happened. And she asks, "Is my stepdad okay?"
Oh, okay.
And she admits, which hand she used to shoot. They do a GSR on her right hand. She kind of admits to everything to the police at that moment.
Did they Mirandize her?
I didn't see the Miranda. They must have Mirandized her at some point. But she's on video, being the one that's in the area. She does look around the corner, kind of looks like she's prepping for it, like seeing where her mom's at, like kind of looking at her corners before it happens. So no attorney could probably reasonably argue that it wasn't her. And she had the stepdad there who was going to testify that he was shot as well. So they took the insanity route. As I'm becoming a trial watcher, I'm seeing how insane all of you trial watchers are and how you judge everyone guilty and read into so many stories and add facts. There's never a single comment that says, that's a reasonable insanity defense. It's always, she's guilty. She did it. She deserves the punishment.
My favorite thing is, like you were talking about earlier, is they'll see something like, Shane and Justin walked into the building and went and sat at their chairs, and they'll say, "Oh, they must have hid the weapon underneath the thing when the camera." No, like they make stuff up. They just throw things in there that literally have no basis in fact.
There's so much reading into evidence. It's
But
difficult.
I think it's got to do with them trying to like rationalize an insane situation and think, well, there's got to be something you can't see or whatever.
Yeah.
Because it just doesn't make sense.
I mean, this is an insane story that there's a ton of these where you're never really going to understand why, how, what's going through a person's mind, because, we haven't had those thoughts before of shooting a parent. I made it to 15 without shooting my mom in the face, so I cannot quite relate to that. Well,
I also didn't shoot my mom in the face.
Well, yeah.
I never did. Never once.
And so part of this trial, an extremely weird part of this trial, is the stepdad is supportive of his stepdaughter throughout the entire trial and wants leniency on her. He mouse "I love you" to her at one point during the trial.
Why is that weird?
Because the trial watchers that are watching this say, oh, there must be an inappropriate relationship between them, and that's what caused her to do this.
That makes sense.
She wanted to get the stepfather or
Obviously.
the mother out of the way so she could have a
She
relationship.
can have him all to herself.
Yeah.
No.
Which
I mean, well,
she shot him, so I think that puts that to bed. But
He's like, here, do it in the shoulder so no one knows. Even though it happened on video, didn't it?
I don't know if that part happened on video. Sorry.
The audio, though?
Don't know all the facts. I can't recall on that
Okay.
one. Sorry.
So, well, here's the question I have for you. You have a wife,
I do.
and you like her,
Yes.
and you have children.
Yes.
You also like them,
Most of the time.
except for the one, and I'm not going to tell you which
I'm not
one it
going
is.
to stop saying that.
I'm kidding. I made it
I
up.
love all of them. They are difficult sometimes.
I made it up.
parent,
Okay,
but-
so fast forward a few years. One of your kids kills your wife.
Oh, gosh.
Do you still love your child because they're your child? Especially if
I
they
can't
had
even go there mentally,
No, but
dude.
what I'm saying is like if they had like a mental problem, something that they couldn't control. It's not just the kid being a psycho. He like something happens to him or her, whichever one of your 12 children that would be the one that would do this. Right? That's a lot
I
to
don't
wrestle
know.
with
I
because
don't know.
you love the kid. The kid had something happen that wasn't their fault necessarily.
And you see these in the world that happen, right? Across the United States. And some of them support and some of them don't. Like some of them.
Okay, well let's make it somebody else, not your wife. Same thing. Kid kills somebody because they have a problem.
Yes.
They couldn't control them. Of course, you're going to want leniency.
I mean, that's what we always see
Sure.
throughout all of our criminal practice. Is
It was like
is
today.
The parents are always on the side of the criminal defendant and see the best in them.
It was like today with that sentencing.
Yeah. So no matter what, a parent, is uniquely positioned in a place of love for their child
Sure.
to see the best in them and to kind of set aside the worst. Even though he knows that it happened, he's accepting of that. He testified, he participated. And
Well, I mean, he forgives her, obviously.
yeah,
And again, if it's not in her control, I could.
Yes.
I don't know if I would do that personally, but I could see why someone would, and I wouldn't fault them for it. That's
Yeah.
everybody's decision to make.
yeah.
That's the part that's so crazy to me about this court of public opinion bullshit. It's like, okay, cool,
But that's who the jurors are too, usually, are these,
random people.
public opinionators.
I mean, yeah, but we all are. But I just don't understand why people forget that the people on the other side of this screen or whatever are exactly that. They're just people.
Well, let's talk about the golden rule. And
Do unto others before they do unto you.
no, the golden rule argument. It's you're prevented. So something in law is, at least in Nevada, I would assume it's every state,
Most places.
is you cannot argue the golden rule, which is basically the golden rule is do unto others as you would have done unto you, right? So how that applies to law is you can never argue that a jury member should put themselves in the shoes of any party or anyone testifying. So you cannot say, if you were this criminal defendant, what would you want to happen to you?
if you were the victim,
prohibited.
Blah, blah, blah.
Or on the prosecution side, if you were the victim, what would you want to happen?
Right.
Or in our car crash cases or personal injury cases, if you lost your leg, how much money would you want?
If you
That's always prohibited.
rear-ended.
Those arguments are against the rules. It would cause a mistrial. All lawyers know that, or should know that.
no, they don't.
All lawyers
No, they
should-
don't.
All lawyers should know that. So this golden rule, they're never going to see the criminal defendant as the stepdad did. They're never going to be in those shoes and really love her. He had been in her life for years,
Sure.
through formative years, and had seen the struggles. Because she did have some struggles. There was some arguments with parents. There always are. There's no perfect child. So everyone's going to have their own issues with their parents.
I never had any issues. with my
Okay,
parents.
good. Well,
I'm perfect.
yes, true.
Just kidding.
So you have to come up with arguments. And so the defense went with the insanity argument, and something they argued in the closing argument was super interesting to me. The defense attorney said that Carly Gregg could have come out and said that she had been sexually assaulted by her stepdad, and that's why I shot my mom. But Carly Gregg did not do that, so she must be insane. And that was something that caused a lot of people's alarm bells to kind of go off like, this is a weird argument.
That he was watching too much TV or looking at too many comments
And
was like, you know what? That's a great idea.
Yeah, well, it was a female.
Spoiler alert, it was stupid.
Well, there were, as we're sitting here today, I don't know if there's any juror interviews yet that said how they reacted to that. I mean,
have they come with a verdict?
Yes, they had a verdict.
Was she found guilty?
She was found guilty already, and in Mississippi, there was something where the jury could recommend a sentence. I don't know if they recommend or they actually do the sentence, but they found that she deserved life, and I think with or without parole comes later for the judge. It's something different. All states are different. Sorry, I don't have it exactly right, but all states are kind of different in this aspect. When there's a minor, there are different rules too about who can sentence. Usually it's only a jury that can do kind of a higher sentence.
And youth can be sentenced to discretionary life without parole in homicide cases. However, it's supposed to be rare and uncommon and reserved only for individuals who the court has deemed are incapable of rehabilitation.
Yeah. So I don't think that she should get life without the possibility of parole, in my opinion. I didn't hear all the trial, so it's always best left to the jury who are there the days sitting and hearing all these things. But the court of public opinion has to have an opinion on everything and decide what her punishment is, and you have to know, what you think about it, despite not being at the entire trial, which is the point of the trial, is to have all the evidence out in front of these people.
Wait, what?
That's
They're supposed to make a decision about all the evidence, not just the 2 headlines they read on CNN? I'm confused. That don't make no sense.
Oh, man.
What are you buying for me, Austin?
Taco Bell.
Thanks.
Heck
Thanks
yeah.
for the Taco Bell, Austin.
Dude, grilled cheese burrito, bro.
They're good.
Fire. Shout out Taco Bell. Sponsor us, please.
I like the nacho fries. Real good. Nacho fries are great. So,
Don't you get your Bajas there?
Baja Blast. That's one of my favorite Mountain Dews in the whole entire world.
And this fool loves Mountain Dew, dude.
I love my Mountain Dews. So I don't think the insanity defense argument was bad.
No.
I think that argument saying that she could have said that she was sexually assaulted but didn't, I don't know. I think that was a confusing argument.
Don't hate that in concept. I would just make it more broad. She didn't come out and say that someone else did it.
She didn't blame anybody else.
She didn't blame anybody else. She didn't say she did it for some reason because her mom did something to her or her dad did something. You could generalize it and make it the same thing and make it way more effective. Because the point you're trying to make is, look, she's got a problem. She didn't think through it enough to try and do what a normal person would do to try to get out of under trouble. Find her not guilty by reason of insanity. There's other ways to do it.
Yeah.
And again, I would need to look at the evidence to fully flesh that argument out. But it seems to me that there's a more general and broad way that would be way more effective. But what do I know?
But we weren't there. We don't know.
Yeah.
The girl was crying during a lot of the testimony.
The defendant?
The defendant, yeah. When she saw video of her stepdad post being shot, she was crying. When she was pronounced guilty, she was crying. She had like snot tears like coming off of her face.
Like ugly crying.
Like super ugly crying. She has
What's her name again?
bangs and like a bob. Her haircut was interesting too.
What's her name?
Just, Carly, Carly, and then Gregg with 2 G's at the end. So she was an interesting looking girl. She was young. They made her dress kind of old. And that's some comments about this too, about how defendants dress when they're facing trial too. I think they tried to make her look older and more proper.
You want to make her look like a child.
And she kind of looked very conservative. It was, I don't know if that's how she wanted to dress. She's in custody at the time of trial, undoubtedly.
Oh yeah, she was definitely ugly crying.
So you see some of those pictures. Yeah, it's pretty sad.
But you're right. I think that they made her look too much like
Old.
a grown up. Yeah, we're thinking. This is like just trial strategy here. You want the kid to look like a kid.
We don't know if this changes the jurors' minds or not, but it could be something that could change the jurors' minds. So this is something that trial attorneys have to think about in their cases. So, yeah, a very sad case. These kinds of cases happen too often, and we're trying to understand them. We don't know. We can just tell you our legal views on everything and what we think about the trials and the strategy. But it is a twisted teen murder. I'd say that's accurate.
Bad for everybody involved, man. That's terrible.
6:15.
15 what?
15 minutes.
15 minutos más.
So Justin sent me one on TikTok last
Tick.
week that's kind of making the rounds now.
Are we too late already?
No, tomorrow. Tomorrow. Marcellus Williams in the St. Louis, Missouri area is set to be executed tomorrow, unless there was some news in the last couple of hours that I missed. This is a super interesting case that's been pending for years now. What happened was a local reporter was found killed in her house and had some things stolen from her house. It looked like a burglary, kind of
Gone bad.
Maybe gone bad. We're not sure. Nobody knows who the killer is. Well, he's been convicted. Marcellus Williams was in possession of the laptop that was stolen from the home. So that is how he became a suspect. And part of it as well is an ex-girlfriend had pointed out him as the assailant. There was a $10,000 reward from the reporter's family.
Wait a minute.
And she was able to collect that. And
Ex-girlfriend gets to turn ex-boyfriend in and get $10,000.
And the other person that turned him in was a cellmate because Marcellus Williams was doing time for another crime as well.
So a guy who has information on a murder when he's in jail and can get favorable treatment.
Yes.
And then a girl who gets $10,000 and gets to flame her ex-boyfriend. You're right. They sound credible.
So this happens. This is in the 2000s when this happens. White woman was killed in her home. Horrible circumstances. Shouldn't have been murdered. Was stabbed to death. Very sad. And the finger gets pointed at a black man. St. Louis, very racially charged city, has those issues.
Mike Brown. That's what was the name of that city? It starts with a J.
Joplin?
No, it's a suburb of St. Louis.
I don't know. I don't know St. Louis too well, but there's racial tensions in that city. I know that for
that
sure.
whole area. There's a lot of stuff that goes on there. I mean,
So-
St. Louis is also a pretty rough city.
You sent me a TikTok that had a lot of conclusory statements, but that's how things are presented. Always argumentative, always one-sided.
I conclude many things on a daily basis.
Yes, and how you're presented. There is too much studies that show psychologically that the point of view that you're presented with first is the point of view that you will side with.
Especially when I only read the headline and not the body of the email
So
article.
when we see this story first about Marcellus Williams, fortunately or unfortunately, I don't know, it's somebody who's saying that this guy should not be put to death. He's scheduled to be put to death. There was some work being done with the Innocence Project because there was some evidence that is exculpatory. And the prosecution that had brought the case now believed that Marcellus Williams was not the murderer. So you have the very people who brought the case
The people who are the most familiar with it on the state side, mind you. I have to tell judges about that all the time.
that say, hey, we don't want this guy put to death anymore, even though he got the death penalty. And so he had been ordered to be executed 3 different times through lethal injection. And now he's pending for lethal injection tomorrow at about this time. So by the time this episode comes out, maybe it'll be too late. That's a picture of him. He even amended his guilty plea recently to say that he did it just so that he would not be put to death. But the judge ignored that and rejected it and said, no, I'm not going to take that. So there's been a lot of things. They had some progress, and then they had a Republican governor put in, and that progress kind of halted.
Oh yeah, there was a governor who was going to order that it stop, and then
Yep.
they got a new governor, and that governor was like, "Just kidding,
Yep. And
kill the guy."
Yep. So there's been a lot going on. This is supposed to go in front of the Supreme Court of Missouri again today to see if it's going to be continually ordered, even though that there's evidence that there's DNA on the murder weapon that is a male's DNA, but not Marcellus Williams' DNA. So I think that's a pretty big exculpatory evidence. Obviously, I don't know. He could have been involved somehow still, but the only evidence that they were basing the case off of kind of is thrown out the window. The witnesses' biases and motivations to get money is a big part of it. He was in. He did have
shit.
What?
Sorry, I just pulled up an article for a local news station, KOMU 8. That's a St. Louis area, and the title is "Missouri Supreme Court Denies Request to Halt Marcellus Williams Execution."
Just happened then, huh?
Minutes ago, yeah.
Oh, 47 minutes ago. So, for all intents and purposes, this man will be put to death tomorrow through lethal injection, which is supposed to be non-painful. Supposed to be.
If we're getting
we don't
it
get to
right.
ask the people.
Well, no, but you remember those ones? Like, there have been some seriously screwed up, botched executions in Oklahoma in the last, because the company that, they're like a Finnish company or something that was selling us the stuff for it, the drugs, and then they found out what we're using it for, and they're like, we're not selling that shit to you anymore. And so then they came up with some new concoction, and it just was awful. It took the dude like 2 hours to die or something. It was bad. We could do a whole episode just on that.
It's tough because you're supposed to trust juries, but after seeing so many juries, I don't think we should trust many of them.
You can trust jurors, but like
only when they say not guilty, right?
No, that's not what I'm saying. I just mean like if, okay, and it's it wasn't Jefferson City, never mind. You can trust jurors, but the thing is that like, you're talking about evidence that they didn't have.
Yeah. Potentially exculpatory evidence too, right?
And
that would have.
It says the prosecutors don't even think he did it, but no one's listening. So that means you have the defendant, the defense attorneys, and the state attorneys saying, hey, this guy didn't do it. Maybe don't kill him. And everyone else is just like, nah, death. What? Get out of here.
It's a sad, sad day where this will happen.
And there's also, it looks like they had some Batson issues in the trial because they struck black jurors.
There was only one black juror that ended up on the trial. And one of the arguments as to why they didn't want a specific black juror was, he looked bored.
Uh-huh.
I don't think that's enough. Batson, what's Batson? I guess tell us what Batson is, Justin.
Batson is a case just like everything else, and it's saying that you can strike jurors for things, you get what's called peremptory challenges, but you can't strike them on the basis of like race, religion, anything like that. It's improper to say, I've got a black defendant, I don't want black jurors on, or a white defendant, I don't want white jurors on, whatever. You can't do that. It has to be you have to be able to articulate a reason. And in that situation, you sometimes can run afoul of it, even if you didn't have any nefarious reason for wanting to strike them. But it just so happens, like, let's say out of your entire jury veneer, you only have one black potential juror, your defendant's black, and the prosecution can strike that juror, then they have to be able to articulate a reason why. Like, for example, that juror said that they don't like the government and they would never convict anybody of anything no matter what, right? There has to be something that's independent of race or religion or whatever.
Or whatever the challenge protected class is. Because they're all protected. Usually we see it in the context of race and being the same race as the defendant is kind of the big one. But it really could be anything. It's any kind of protected class, right? Mm-hmm. Age.
Yeah.
I think age is part of it.
I think so. I think age, ethnicity, religion. I want to say, I don't think it follows the same protected classes as like constitutional protections for like heightened scrutiny and stuff. I think it's a little bit different, but I don't deal with it. I mean, I understand Batson to know how to.
It's only during trial, so it's not going to come up as often, and it has to be when the state, it's only the prosecution is kind of kicking these people off, right? Or does it apply to defense attorneys too on the flip side?
Yeah.
Okay.
You can always do it that way.
Either way. Gotcha. So there were some Batson issues in this trial, which is they were kicking off black jurors. You have a black defendant and a white victim. And there's maybe some racially charged stuff. We don't know the full, we won't get into it saying it's completely racially motivated, but there's some elements there that people are seeing that looks funky, and they're questioning about this. So it looks like, based on our recent news, as this comes out, that this man's been put to death for a crime that
He potentially did not commit.
most people probably believe that he did not commit. And even the victim's family has come out and said, we don't think he did this. This shouldn't be happening. He's not the right guy. And usually victims' families are pointing the finger at whoever because it feels like justice, right? To get somebody put away for it, or an eye for an eye, a life for a life there. But this victim's family is not doing any of that. So it's a sad situation. Cardinals suck. St. Louis Cardinals suck. They're the worst team ever. Austin likes them. Austin likes them.
Austin likes the Cardinals?
Austin likes the Cardinals.
How?
He wanted a girlfriend at the time, and they were winning organization.
Vanessa beat him.
Yeah.
She likes the Cardinals too, though.
Ugh. Vanessa, never mind. You guys are meant for each
He
other.
only likes girls that like
She
the
liked
Cardinals.
I like the Cardinals.
Wait,
Was it because of her, or was it a
No,
different?
It
was an ex.
years before I even met.
so you only date girls that like the Cardinals?
No, Vanessa liked the A's when we met, and then she picked a good team.
The state of Missouri is yeah.
Go ahead. Keep going. You got me. I'm with you.
I know you are.
You know what I think about Missourians?
I went to St. Louis once because
Did you touch the arch?
I did go in the arch. I went in
I
the
went
little
right up to it and was like looking up at it, and it freaked me out.
I went in it. They have like a little elevator that
yeah,
takes
yeah.
you up to the top. So I went in 2007. My alma mater, UNLV, was in the Sweet 16 in St. Louis in the old St. Louis Rams Stadium, Edward Jones Dome, something like that. It's in the ghetto. It was not in a good area.
In the ghetto.
It was an interesting area. We walked over the bridge and went on a boat casino that they had.
Like a riverboat casino?
Yeah,
that's
riverboat
cool.
casino.
With a big old paddle on the back?
Yeah.
Did you gamble?
I wasn't allowed in.
Joseph Smith won't let you gamble, will he?
Sheesh.
Sorry, brother Joseph.
I was 19 years old at the time.
You
so
can't
I
go
was
in then. You're
allowed
not
in.
21.
I was not 21. We walked over to it.
Were you done with your mission yet?
No, this was before.
Oh, okay. When did you go on your mission?
Later that year, 2007 to 2009.
Did you already speak Spanish at that point?
No.
Jeez. Wow.
So we walked over the Mississippi River. St. Louis was kind of nasty. Their famous food, I always judge people by their famous food. Fried ravioli.
It doesn't sound terrible.
St. Louis. And butter cake.
I'd rather have fried Oreos.
Those are delicious. Fremont Street has tons of those. So, let's not go there.
What?
Fat boy.
Where's these fried Oreos? You give them to me now.
We have so many cases on Fremont Street right now. Let's not go down there.
I don't want to go down there. I went down there this weekend.
Yeah, of course you did.
It was fun.
Okay, let's do
Mike was in Circa. They're teaching me how to play craps.
fun. Sounds crappy.
Mike did great. He was crushing it. I didn't know. Shout out, Mike.
Let's go to our listener question.
Okay.
My wife found this one online, so I guess it's from her. Headline.
Our number 2 fan.
Numbers, yeah. Someone paid me a lot of money, then never picked up the thing they paid for. Quote, I own a ranch property. About 2 years ago, I sold horse stalls to someone over Facebook for $14,000. I contacted them multiple times via Facebook to pick up their items, and they never did. They left me on red. Since then, the check was chased. The check was cashed.
I was going to say cashed is the word you're looking for. The check was chased.
I wrote that wrong. The check was cashed and the money was used. It's odd for someone to pay that much money, then just ghost me.
Yep.
I'm wondering if I need to give legal notice to sell it again and what that would look like. I wouldn't want to sell it again, only for them to come back asking for it years later.
If it's years later, I think you got a statute of limitations issue.
Here you go.
Can do whatever you
Here
want.
you go. Edit. I think they live 4+ hours away. I'm guessing they got overwhelmed with the plans of disassembling everything and transporting it. Still odd for them not to message me back, though. Check was from January 25th, 2023. I searched messages on Facebook, and I can't find the person. So criminally, let's say criminally first. There's no element of intent or fraud there, it sounds like.
Well, not until they don't come pick the item up. Because what you could do is not cash the check and just tear it up.
Yes, but they deposited it. How did they get the check? I guess is
Probably mail or something.
the internet has a lot of like fake AI stories right now. Like, this is becoming a real problem.
Did you see that thing about the pictures where they're like 98%? Like, you couldn't tell. The only reason you could tell is like the text in them.
Yeah.
Fingers is a big one too.
There was some picture and I looked at it and I was like, oh, that's a picture of some lady. And they're like, no, this is AI.
Yeah. No, these things are very difficult right now. And this, when you see, this is on Reddit, and sometimes on Reddit you'll see just karma farming accounts, which means fake stories just to be popular.
Karma farming?
Yeah, because on Reddit it's upvoting. It gives you
Updoots.
karma.
I want to get updooted.
Updooted. So it could be karma farming, or just post to just get more karma, because you can sell those accounts.
Yeah.
And then you can be real cool and make money off of it. So there's some elements here that's like, is this real? Could be. I'm not saying it is or isn't.
So my thought is you're going to have a difficult time when you had the opportunity not to cash the check or to, well, that's weird, right? Because if I get the check, I presume you're coming.
Yes.
I'm going to cash it.
You wouldn't pay for something you're not going to go get,
Right.
right?
I cash
But what
it
if
and
I
I'm like-
ask for the money back?
You got to give it back. You're still within that statute of limitations period.
I mean, this is a specific state, specific
Well, I mean, that
performance.
would
We
be
don't
breach
know.
of contract. Yeah, that gets into a contract issue. I'm just thinking like from the criminal side of it.
Just to protect, because we saw, there was a crazy one I sent you a few weeks ago about an attorney who got in trouble for getting a package delivered to their front door and then taking that package and kind of maybe concealing it from the other person, and they got convicted for a misdemeanor theft.
Yeah.
And it was kind of,
With the way the
it was a
prosecution's been
huge
here lately.
huge weird circumstances in that one, but you just have to be very careful.
Yeah, and then civilly, I mean, you could sue them for breach of contract if they tried to do anything.
Yeah, if you sell it twice and you make the money twice, yeah, you might have to give the first person the money back, even though you spent it.
Yeah, but I mean, also
That's
if
trouble.
they come to ask for it, even though it's a year later, you got to give it to them.
Yeah.
That's a tough one, and it is interesting because there is some. That's honestly sounds like a crim, like family law or not family law, contracts law crossover law school final.
A bar exam question
Yeah,
of sorts
yeah,
too. Yeah, it could. I mean, it could be, or hey, maybe this person was trying to get help on the bar exam and typed it up real quick and said, hey,
Or maybe it's AI and someone's updooting.
maybe it is AI. But thanks,
Dudes himself.
thanks for listening to another week of Tangled Rights. If you have more comments about anything you want to hear about,
Julie, send us some questions.
we
Have Carrie text me.
We always love to hear from our listeners, and which current cases that you're tracking that you want to hear our opinions on. Carly Gregg was a big one this week.
For all of you that watch murder TV shows and
Apparently
stuff.
people do this, man.
No, I forget what it's called on South Park. The South Park episode where the parents are watching like the crime documentaries. It's like informative murder porn or something like that is what they called it.
It's not my cup of tea. I've never really
now-
listened to this before, but
Now it is.
Now I've been tracking it because I give the listeners what they want.
He will do anything for updoots.
Anything for updates.
Bye.
So we talked about Carly Gregg a lot on this episode, and she lived in Jackson, Mississippi. The Mississippi Braves just played their last game in Jackson, Mississippi. They'll be moving, but I got a now defunct hat, Mississippi Braves, just like the Atlanta Braves. Cool colors. Thank you to Hat Heaven, the website. I also bought some more off there. But now, like Carly Gregg's Freedom, the Mississippi Braves are also defunct. So good luck in your future, Miss Gregg. Peace.